Hey Tubies, it's Psychic Bob. It is so good to be with you. Well, here I am. I'm sitting here today just looking at one of my treasured pieces of crystal glass. As many of you know, I'm redoing my home and I'm getting rid of everything. But the one thing I'm saving is my beautiful cut glass collection. Really fine cut glass is it's a type of leaded glass. It's called crystal. Now, it's not quartz crystal, but it looks similar. But this is a piece of beautiful hand-cut crystal glass, which is from a company called Galway. Galway is a fine Irish crystal out of Ireland. It's a competitor to Waterford. I have Waterford pieces and I have a few Galway Irish crystal pieces. But today I was polishing this bowl and I was just looking at how beautiful it is. And it reminds me of the spirit world. You know, the spirit world is so luminous and glowing. It's kind of like fine crystal. But this is a beautiful bowl. It's all this was all handmade, hand cut. And if you could feel, it's really sharp. The diamond, this is called diamond point cut. It's literally like diamond points. Really sharp and beautiful. But I was looking at this bowl. I just love my beautiful crystal collection. I want to share it with you. As I get my house together, I'll have more pieces to show you. But just want to show that to you for today. I'm going to set that over here. I got to be careful I don't drop it. Anyways, well, I'm glad you're here. Well, today is our day for our spiritualist class and our seance. And we're going to start with our class here. We're working on this book, Sylvia Browne's book called Mystical Traveler. We've been going through this book, and we've been having a lot of amazing insights from Sylvia. And we're going to continue with that today. Now, if you are new here, we've been doing this for the last few weeks. We're only up to page 29, so we've got, we're not too far into the book. It's not a thick book. I would encourage you if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, it'll help you follow this class. Get this book and you can follow along. Sylvia Browne's Mystical Traveler. Now, I'm not being endorsed by Sylvia Browne Corporation or Amazon or eBay, but you can pick these up over there. I think I bought this copy for like $4, so definitely check it out. Well, we're going to continue now because we're on chapter 2 of the book called The Call That Resonates in the Soul. And you'll remember last week we talked about how when you take the mantle, you give up your will to serve the Godhead, Mother, Father, God. And for those of you who want to do this, it's a little scary, but it's not a crisis. It will ultimately be an experience of joy. And today we're going to continue along here. We're starting over on page 29. And Sylvia is continuing. So this next section is called A Lifetime Process, okay? So we'll continue, starting on page 29, midway down. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Rahim, the spirit guide I first became aware of around 1970. Like Francine is one of Sylvia's spirit guides, by the way. Like Francine, Rahim comes to me when I'm in trance, and he's an expert on so many things, including medicine, history, religion, and natural magic, which is his forte. In no way is he smarter than Francine. He just approaches everything from a more linear position because he's male. I thought we'd benefit from his viewpoint on the subject of mystical travelers. Rahim says, once you accept what you are or have taken on, that being a mystical traveler has its hardships, it becomes a wondrous continual spiritual life forever. Of course, everyone is spiritual in one way or another. Mystical travelers have just given up the overpowering need for things that are material and that seems so important. Now, I'm going to just pause there for a second because, this is interesting to hear Rahim. Sylvia Browne, like many mediums, has a few different spirit guides. And for those of you who've been following here, you know that I have a spirit guide named Fletcher. He's my principal male guide. I also have Rose, who's a female guide, and also my other guide, which is Alfred. And so all of my guides work with me. Sylvia has 2, Rahim and Francine, and they're wonderful, it's interesting because in this world we're taught, that you have to acquire material things, you have to, everything's about making money and having stuff. And interestingly, as many of you know, I've been working on becoming a minimalist. And one of the things that minimalism has helped me do is to really put into focus my interrelation with material things. Now, I have to admit, I love to shop as much as anybody. So just because I'm a spiritual person doesn't mean that I don't enjoy things. But the difference is that when you become a mystical traveler, it's not the obsession that it was, and you appreciate what you have more. And as a minimalist, I'm actually going to have less stuff than I do now, and I'm letting go a lot of stuff, but I'm valuing the things that I am keeping, and the material elements in my life have true meaning now. They're not just superfluous stuff. So I think being a mystical traveler will help you to understand better your relation to material things. Okay, let's continue on. And this is Rahim, I guess, talking. It says, that doesn't mean you'll be unable to live by the fruits of your labor, but materialism does not become your God. Mystical travelers become what we know as spiritual pilgrims or messengers. While they are advanced spiritual entities, remember that their spirituality is without ego or a fake, faltering humility. They must live life with honesty, true humility, and gratitude in order to be privy to the gifts that are bestowed upon them. Rahim goes on to state, for any spiritual movement to take hold, it takes many years. Even though you give up your will and go through the mystical traveler process, you can't expect results overnight. You may have broken through many old phobias and habits, but no matter how good you are, you're still coming out of a lot of darkness and negativity, which also contributes to the time that it takes to be successful, that it will take to be successful. I want to pause right there, because as many of you know, I've told you in previous classes, I have been doing psychic work for, over 30 years now. I'm getting old. And I started when I was a teenager. But it wasn't until I was age 40, and just to give you some time frame, I'm 50 now. And I started psychic work when I was 15, so what's that, 35 years actually, doing spiritual counseling, readings, haunted house investigations. Now I'm 50 and I'm still doing it. But it wasn't actually till I was age 40 that I became a mystical traveler, because it is at that point where I said, I'm going to give up trying to live in this material world. I'm going to give up trying to get ahead in the corporate life, and I'm going to give everything to God. I actually felt that the Spirit was calling me. I knew for a long time I had a calling. And the funny part is, and some of you will have this too, you know that you're supposed to be a mystical traveler, but you try to deny it or run away from it, ignore it. But when that happens, people around you will point you out and they'll say, you know what? You should become a spiritual teacher. You should do something. I had many different people over the years offer me ordinations. I would go to a church and they'd say, maybe you should enter our ministry program. We think you'd be good. I actually had one time the Catholic Church offered me a chance to join the priesthood. And they offered to pay my full seminary to study in Rome at the Vatican. And I'd be posted to different missions as I went through seminary. It was a very generous offer with a very, rather glamorous life, to tell you. And I knew I was being called, but I didn't feel that was the calling. And so I said no to that. And over the years, other churches have asked me to think about their ministry program. But it wasn't until age 40 that I really felt like I could commit to that. And so I took on my mantle as a psychic, as a spiritualist, and took on my mantle, got my ordination, and devoted my life to spiritual work. So it takes a long time. But interesting, those of you out there, some of you know what I'm talking about. Other people are telling you about your calling, and you're trying to run from it. Don't run from it, but let it lead you, okay? All right, we're going to go on. So she writes, this isn't meant to imply that you are dark or negative. Rather, everyone absorbs negativity just by living on this planet, and it takes time to get rid of it, sometimes as much as 20 years. Please don't become frantic when you read these words, for you may make it in a shorter period of time. However, it does usually take about 20 years. Now, isn't that interesting? Because when I was 20, I was in college, and I really started to feel that calling even then. And that's when the Catholic Church first tried to co-opt me and get me to join the priesthood. And I said no. Now, what Sylvia's talking about here is, as I said, everybody that comes to Earth, we do enter into this realm, and I'm not trying to be negative, but it is a realm of darkness here. There's nothing on Earth that is truly self-luminous. Well, save maybe fireflies or some creatures under the sea. But generally, this is a dark realm. If the sun goes out, the Earth does not light up, put it that way. And there's a mentality here of fear and negativity. People get here and they fight because they think there's not enough of anything. And we view everything as a commodity. So all of that energy creates a state of fear and panic. And we all come into this world. And the minute we get here, we're absorbed by it. So what Sylvia's saying is that when you start to realize you're going to become a mystical traveler, that you get the call, it still may take 20 years for you to step into it. And it's interesting because at 20, I was asked to join the Catholic priesthood. I said no. But I actually gave it serious thought because I did know I was being called to something. And it wasn't until 40 that I took on my own path as a psychic and a spiritualist medium. So anyways, yeah, it took me 20 years. She's absolutely right about this. This is what I love about Sylvia. She really explains it well. And she goes on, she writes, she says, as divine as Jesus was, even he didn't start his vocation as a mystical traveler until he was 30. Before his public life and ministry, he went through a long incubation period to cleanse himself of the negativity that he had absorbed in his life. Interestingly enough, Francine says that it's very common to become an advanced entity at around the age of 30, which is also the age most of us return to when we get to the other side. Now, isn't that fascinating? Because I remember that when I became 30, I knew in total clarity that I was truly meant to step on the spiritual path. I knew at 20, but at 30 I clearly knew. And it's just interesting that that age is such an important time. And Jesus, I never thought about that. He started his mission at 30 and he died at 33. So very, very interesting. Now, don't worry, you don't have to become a martyr like Christ. That was his path. That's not necessarily saying that every mystical traveler becomes a martyr, so don't get into that fear either. Okay? So, and also Francie says everybody on the spirit world's about 30. I can testify to that because I had a near-death experience and I saw people, and everybody in the group was about 30. And I had some relatives that had died come to see me, and they looked immensely younger, but I could clearly recognize them. But it's true, everybody takes on a youthful energy over there. So 30 seems to be a significant number. Very interesting. She goes on, she says, you may protest that you just started the process and don't think you have many years left. Well, if you really don't have very long, then your time will naturally be shortened. As far as you're just getting started goes, that's actually not true. If you look back over your life, I bet you'll find that you started on a spiritual path many years ago. You have begun it in childhood, you may have begun it in childhood, in young adulthood, or sometime later. But like most people on a spiritual quest, I'm sure you spent several years on it. Now you see, I know this is true. This is absolutely true, and I can confirm it. I started working as a psychic at age 15 doing haunted house investigations. By the time I was 20, I knew that I was going to stay with spiritual work in my life, but I didn't know how yet. I thought then I had to be maybe through the Catholic Church, which was an option. And if you're thinking about that, that's not bad. But what I'm saying is that remember that the spiritual calling transcends any boundaries. So don't let yourself say, well, if I want to be a spiritual person, then I have to go to the certain church that I grew up in and be a minister there. No, you don't. Not unless you're called to it. See, even though I was Catholic, when the Catholic Church asked me to come and become a priest, I really waited because what was interesting is, even though I loved the Catholic Church at the time, I still felt in my soul that there was more than I was being taught there. And I was hesitant to commit myself to that church when I felt that the truth actually may have been greater than that. And in my own journey, I discovered that the truth is bigger than any one church. So that's my experience. But if you're in a church and you love it and they want you to commit your life to service and you really feel that, don't say, well, Psycho Bob said I can't do that. No, no. You go where you're called. I was called, but I wasn't sure I was called to the Catholic Church. Do you understand the difference? So think about that as you're thinking about these things. You may be called, but not necessarily called to the place you think you're called. Okay. Regardless of what, if any, religion you grew up with, the moment you started searching for answers was the beginning of your quest. So if we look at that, I'm going to pause here for a second. I started psychic work at age 15 when I was studying a spiritualism and got called to help with a haunted house. I started asking myself, even at 15, what is the nature of ghosts? What is this dimension I keep encountering? What are these spirits I keep hearing and seeing? That was the beginning of my questioning. Think about where your questioning started. Your questions, Sylvia writes, your questions, your research, your education, and your life experiences have all contributed to your spirituality. This is the spiritual you, and it's probably not as undeveloped as you think. Becoming a mystical traveler is merely the culmination of your spirituality. And from the moment you take that oath, you use it to do good and to help others. That's so true. If you review your past, you'll find the beginning of the spiritual you. Perhaps you said something to the effect of, I can't buy what those in authority are telling me. I have to do what I want, and I must have my own God and my own personal reality. I'm not even going to listen to what these people say about sin, damnation, or hellfire. That's when your spirituality started. It probably blossomed right away, but then you may not have seen it bear fruit for a long time. And that's just another step in the levels of the soul. You can either accept it or keep doing what you've been doing. After all, if you're living a good life and that's fine with you, then it's certainly fine with God. So, I want to pause right there again and say, this is true. How many of you, I know it happened to me when I was younger. I used to go, I went to a lot of different churches, but I was actually Catholic, but I went to Baptist church, I went to Presbyterian, Anglican, I tried all of them. But every time they get up there and preach something like, everybody's going to hell, I used to say, I don't believe that a loving God is that judgmental. I always heard the words behind the words. Like they'd say, God is a God of love. By the way, all of you are going to hell. I said, wait, something's imbalanced here. Either God's love or God's not love. And I started to realize I couldn't agree with many of the priests and preachers. I don't think they were trying to intentionally deceive anybody. I think they only taught what they knew, but I don't think they went deep enough. And for those of us who are mystical travelers are called to that, but we can never settle with the surface. We're always going deeper. That makes us annoying to many of the traditional mainline religions. It wasn't until I found spiritualism that I actually felt like I'd found a home. Because in the spiritual church, they said, we're not condemning anybody. In fact, our evidence proves that there is another world. Spiritualists didn't just tell me there was no world, they demonstrated it to me. I went to seances, I met with channels, I did all of that. And I tell you, it changed my world. I understood spirituality and I began to live it, not just go on Sunday and do what the minister said. And as I grew, I expanded even into Wicca. Now I'm a Wiccan, and I'm still a spiritualist. I'm a little bit of both. And I find truth keeps growing and is showing itself in new ways to me. So when you're questioning that, you say, well, I don't agree with that church. I don't agree with that preacher said. Some of you probably went to church last Sunday and you're sitting here today saying, wow, now it makes sense. I kept shaking my head during the church service, not feeling at peace. When you question, don't be afraid to question. You're opening your mind to higher truth and higher reality. And that is where the true beginning is. Well, guys, I think we're going to pause there today because we're going to have our seance. But I want to encourage you, if you can, get this book, Sylvia Browne's Mystical Traveler. I'm not being endorsed by Hay House or Sylvia Browne Corporation or Amazon or any of this, but I love this book and we're going to be studying it. So if you want to get a copy, it's not expensive. Go buy, if you can't buy a new one, buy a used one. Amazon, eBay sells them. I think I paid like $4 for this, so it's not expensive. So, and you'll get more than listen, just in the first 28 pages, I've got more than $4 of wisdom out of this. And I'm not even halfway through the book. So do yourself a favor, pick it up. Well, guys, listen, we're going to have our seance now. So I want you just to gather around here and let's get ready for that. So stay with us. Our seance is coming up next. Well, tubies, I want you to gather around here. If you were here in my house, which in a sense you really are virtually, I'd have you put chairs here in a circle right around my chair. We have a little circle here. And we're going to have our little seance circle. Now, I'm a trance medium, spelled T-R-A-N-C-E, which means when I go into a trance state, spirits overshadow my consciousness. They take temporary control of me and speak through me. Now, this is different than possession, because possession is when a spirit forces its entry into your body against your will. This is not possession, because I get people writing to me saying, oh my God, Bob's spirit possessed, and they're worried. This is an agreement. I have a partnership with my guides, and they work through me. So I never know what's going to happen. I pray they show up. So far, they haven't let me down. But anyway, so gather around your chairs. I'm going to take down the lights. Let's close the blinds here. I like a little more subdued light when I work, and we're going to take down this. So I'll see you guys when I get back. Blessed be. Oh, well, there we go. I think we're in the body. Oh, this is Fletcher. It's so good to be back with all of you. Top of the morning to you. Well, I got to tell you, we're so glad whenever we get a chance to come and visit with you this way. Our medium's most kind to let us use this apparatus so that we can have a word with you. Well, we got a few people here who want to be speaking to you, so I'll be stepping out of the body. But I want to let you know that I'm with you here. And some of you have been calling me, say, Fletcher, give me a hand. And I've been hearing your calls, and I'm with you. This is Fletcher, over and out. Yes, Fletcher, I do believe we have control of the medium's vibration. I do hope that all of you out there can hear me. When I have an opportunity like this to come, I wish to use the time wisely, and so I shall not belabor the point but get straight to the matter at hand. Many of you have been seeking to raise your vibration. Many of you have said, is there a spirit world? It feels so far away from me. Much of your current conditioning of your earth culture has told you that heaven is far away, that God is far away, that you are alone in the cosmos. Some of you don't even believe that there is a God or a spirit world, yet inside of you, you know that you are being called to something else. Try to understand that those of us in the spirit world are seeking to make contact with your world. We invite each of you to pause. It is important that you take time away from your daily activities, that you slow yourself down, that you enter into even what we would call a meditative state. When you let all the cares fall away and you enter into your silent inside, you will understand that it is through the inner voice that we speak. The spirit world is not going to be a voice booming from the heavens as you see in many of the films upon the earth. The spirit voice works through you and comes from within. The inner world leads to the outer world and leads back to the inner world. What we are trying to say is that the spirit world and your world overlap. The merging of both dimensions is accomplished through the subconscious of the human mind. We will speak into your subconscious mind, which will translate eventually into your conscious mind. The problem is that many people on the earth, they let their conscious mind override their subconscious mind, and they push out the thoughts and very messages that we bring to them. Some people will say, but is it all in your head? And the truth is, yes, it is in your head. It does not mean that it is not coming from a higher place or a higher source. Our world is a world of light and vibration at a much higher frequency than that which you can currently understand. Your current physics are beginning to touch upon it. There are those of you who have explored quantum physics, and we should say that from the spirit world we are much joyed at the thought of quantum physics being learned by humans. Quantum physics begins to touch on the reality, which is the non-reality. And what we mean by that is that all life is interconnected. But there is a reality beyond that which you define as the limits of your reality. And this is where the beginning of the spirit world happens. Vibration is the connecting key that aligns all reality. If you understand that the human sight, for example, your visible spectrum, your light spectrum, extends far beyond your visible spectrum, you can see the colors of the rainbow. But beyond those, there are infrared and ultraviolet rays, which are also part of the spectrum, though they remain invisible. And even beyond those, there are colors and spectrums that the human eye has never seen. When many humans arrive here in the spirit world, the first thing that they say is they are amazed at the colors here, the vibration intensity, and the different hues. Over here, we have combinations of light and color that are not seen upon the earth. And if you were to come here and return to earth, as many have done through their near-death experience, there are not words or abilities to describe the colors here. So know that there are things beyond that which you perceive. Your science is categorized it up to a certain degree, but know that it goes even farther than that. Not only are colors here more vibrant and more intense, sounds are also different. Many of you have heard the music of the spheres. Some of you in your moments of deep meditation have heard a humming sound, a tonal quality. This is what we call the vibration of the spirit world. All realms of existence carry a vibration, and in some realms the tones are more harmonious, and some they are more discordant. At the lower frequencies, the lower end of the spirit world, there is much strife and anxiety. Yes, there are dark realms here as well as light realms. The sounds are harsher, are more discordant. In the higher realms, there is a harmony and a beauty to them. Understand that each day as you live upon the earth, you are raising your vibration or lowering it. It is not a question of, I shall die and eventually become enlightened. You have the present power now to attain the highest levels of the spirit world, though yet you remain in the body. Know that your body is a vehicle for learning, for growth, through experience. But inside of it is animated by the spirit. Now, I know there are many on the earth who will say, well, the human body is simply a mechanical device functioning with electrical chemistry from the brain. Yes, the mechanical body does interface with the brain, but the brain interfaces with the spirit brain. You are of two minds, literally, an eternal mind and a temporary mind. Your earthly mind is that which is based on logic and reason, and this is what operates you in the physical sense. But that which you desire, your will, your visionary capabilities, your ability to transcend limitations, all of this comes from the spirit mind. And as you raise your vibration, you will be more in touch with our world. This is why some of you in deep meditation have begun to see colors that you cannot describe, that are beyond the earthly understanding of color. This is why some of you have heard voices and tones and qualities of music that are far beyond anything you can even create here. Our world's vibrations oscillate at a higher frequency. Better music, better sounds, better light, better color. All of these things await you. And as you grow spiritually on earth, so you begin to touch in on these frequencies and these vibrations. Fletcher has said that I must step from the medium's body. There are others who wish to speak. My name is Alfred. Oh, there we go. Greetings, my dears. This is Rose. I do hope that you can hear me. Oh, you see, I was listening very closely to Alfred, and I must say, during my earthly life, I did not quite understand science. I was not particularly educated, though I was from the upper classes. In those days, ladies were education extended to how to have a nice dinner party and how to wear the finest clothes. Oh, I do excel, I do say, in those areas. But this discussion of quantum physics is something that quite has me intrigued. You know, when you come to the spirit world, the opportunities for learning never cease. For those of you on earth who have said, I missed out on many opportunities, I did not complete high school, I did not get to go to college, I missed university. For those of you who are saying, oh, if only I were young again and I could go back and study. My dears, know that anything you've lost on earth you will be able to acquire in the spirit world, but you must prepare yourselves. It is important that humans seek knowledge. When you come here, one of the places that you will see in our world is the vast library. The library is a place where you can study the Akashic records. The Akashic records are recordings of all that has ever been and all that will ever be. You can literally go to the past, the present, or the future. You will understand the greater design of the cosmos and, as well, your role in it. If you think, oh, poor me, I have no knowledge, I'm uneducated, I have no money, my dear, do not judge yourself by such harsh standards. In the spirit world, all are considered valuable. The very fact that you have come to earth makes you incredibly valuable over here. Oh, many souls in the spirit world have fear of traveling to the earth. They fear that if they go there, they'll lose their way. And veritably, some do, some lose their way. And so when you enter into incarnation, you take a grave risk. You're warned by the spirit guides here. They say, if you go into the earth, we may not always be able to stop you, for your free will override us many times. And this accounts for why people make bad choices. Some of you here tonight who have family members who are involved in addictions, drugs and alcohol. And you say, Rose, I pray every day. Why are they still doing the drugs? Why are they still doing the alcohol? Oh, my dear, know that your prayers are still valuable. Do not give up, for any effort you make in that way raises their vibration. Unfortunately, humans can choose to push away the light, and I myself did this in much of my life, and especially after my death. I pushed away angels, believing them to be strange, and they were only coming to help me. My dears, do not give up your prayers. Remember, it is free will in the cosmos that allows people to make these choices. And if you have loved ones who are making choices that are destructive today, you will remember that heaven hears your prayer, and all of us over here will help you. Do not ever give up hope. Faith, hope, and love. My vicar used to preach on these in the Church of England that I belong to. And you know, I think there's great truth there. If we have faith, then we will have hope. And if we have those, then we can love. All of them are intertwined, my dear. It is the true Trinity. And if you keep them in your heart, faith, hope, and love, you will see miracles happen. Do not give in to despair. And know that those around you always have the prerogative of their free will. You cannot force your will on someone, nor should you dare. Know that our world are working all things out for you, and even if in the moment it seems dark, know that someday your loved one will have a chance at light. No soul on the earth is ever forgotten by our world, and some of you even doubt today. You say, I've been abandoned, Rose, I pray no one's helped me. My dears, I'm here today to tell you that your prayer is heard. Over here we see prayers rising like light beams into our world. Whenever you pray with intensity, and you have those elements of faith, hope, and love, then you are sure to beam a light into the spirit world that will not be ignored. There are countless beings here waiting to help with prayers, to pass them on to the Father of Light, and sometimes the Father of Light sends us to be the answer to the prayer. So wait upon us, spirit world. We will not abandon you. We've never forgotten you, my dear. Oh, do thank you for allowing me to come here today. To visit with each of you is a blessing to us as well. We wait over here in the spirit world for opportunities to come into the earth, that we might be seen and heard. Some of you have heard my voice already. You've called upon me whilst in your car. You said, Rose, help me find a parking space. And I've even helped you with little things like that. My dears, we of the spirit world live to serve. And we hope that you will live your lives in joy. And if you keep those sacred treasures of faith, hope and love with you, then you are sure to succeed. Fletcher says the medium's power is starting to wane, so we do not wish to overtax his system. But I do thank you for allowing me to come here today, and I do hope that you will call upon our world. Oh dear, the power is starting to go. I feel my power weakening. But please know that I am with you and call upon me. And know that Rose will come and help you, for that is what I do. I sing you mine. Well, Tubies, it is so awesome to be with you. Thank you so much for being here. You know, whenever I get the chance to connect with the spirit world and to bring their messages through, I'm having a good day. I'm glad you're here with me. Listen, if you've liked this video, make sure to help me out. Like this video, favorite it, share it with your friends. Please hit subscribe and be part of our channel. And, you know, if you get a chance, pop over to my website. You can book a reading there. My phone number is 703-825-3929. Give me a call. We'll get you on the schedule for this upcoming week. And also, while you're there, check out my books. I have a wonderful bookstore with books that I've written and published. This is a book you might enjoy, Messages from Rose. It's about my work with my spirit guide, Rose. You can pick that up over there, as well as Psychic Bob's Book of Wiccan Wisdom, Psychic Bob's Book of Spells, Ouija Mysteries, the Spirit Board Seances, all of this and more over at my website. So I want to tell you thank you. Thanks for being here. You guys rock. I love you. Keep it here at Spirit Channel. We got more coming tomorrow, Sunday. That means the witching hour. We're going to have a live broadcast. Be here at 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. London, 2 a.m. Paris time. We'll see you guys here for the witching hour. It'll be live chat interaction. We'll be taking your questions live for all things related to mystical, magical things in Wicca. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, may you always blessed be.